the last time that we filmed how much it costs for a family to live in Bali was in 2021. So obviously then it was COVID, Bali was still predominantly closed, so things have really changed now in 2025. Things are a lot more expensive than what they used to be. Now, my biggest cost is still this beautiful school. Green School Bali is still my largest cost. The price of Green School, we've been here 5 years now, and it has gone up every year since being here. So really now there's no eating, no going out, no doing anything. It's just attending Green School. So the cost of attending Green School now, if you've got a primary school child, you're looking at about 14,000 US dollars. Woo! I know. For a middle school child, the average is around 17,000 US dollars. And again, for high school, it's around, I'm going to say the average because depending on the grade, it depends on how much, but it is around 18,000 US dollars. I know, it's so much, and it wasn't that much in 2021. So, yeah, big cost, still my biggest cost living here in Bali. Our second largest cost living in Bali is of course these beautiful things, housing, living. And of course in 2021 when I did this, the amount of boulets, the expats in Bali was relatively low, and you had your option of so many homes and they were really reasonable price. And of course that's changed massively because Bali is open and there's so many expats and boulets that live here, and it's really pushed up the price of living. So if you remember back then, I was living in an eco-village home for a lot cheaper than what they currently rent out at, and so they're currently renting out at about 3,000 US dollars per month. And today we're in the eco-village in Sibang Kasha, which is the area around Green School. So obviously a really popular place for Green School families to live. And then I asked a real estate agent friend actually, because it's really hard. There are such extremes in Bali on how much you can pay for housing. And then if you get creative, you can find cheaper options. But really, she said the average house price for an expat in Bali is sitting around 40,000 US dollars per year. But of course, yeah, you can pay a lot more. I have friends that pay up to about 100,000 US dollars per year. So much money. And then if you're like me and like I did, you've got to get creative if you want cheaper. So you can't be living in the heart of Canggu, you can't be in Paranan or Sese, Padang Lingjong or Batu Balong, or the heart of Ubud, say, like Sion or Penasanan or Nukuni, all these popular areas. That's where you're going to pay a lot more for housing. But if you're out and you're driving around, I mean, here I say get on Facebook, get on and just drive around, because people do advertise with signs outside their homes. And those homes, if you're outside of those areas, you'll get a lot cheaper options. So you'll be maybe cutting that price in half. And so there are definitely options if you need cheaper, but housing has got more expensive as Bali's opened and things have changed and there's a large amount of people coming in. Now, in your house, things are relatively cheap to operate. So power it's all on token. So, you have your machine and you have to top it up. So it's not just forever running electricity. So I'll put maybe a mil, and that lasts a family of 5 for around 3 weeks. So I put a mil on. It's really easy to do. It's literally just about buying the token. So you either buy it through your local bank account in Indonesia, or you go to the shop and you just buy however much you want, and then you punch in a code, very simple, and it tops up your electricity. So yeah, it's a simple thing to do, but yeah, your electricity won't keep going. There are many times in the middle of the night that I've run out of electricity and then the kids kill me because there's no aircon. The other thing is normally in Bali homes, there is gas bottles. So you have your gas stove, and that is run just by a gas bottle. And so I really have mosquitoes up my nose. And very cheap at about $1.75 US to buy a small gas bottle, and that lasts you depending on however long you cook. And then of course water, tap water is free, do not drink it, you'll get Bali belly. And I just have a Terra water system. It's called Terra, and it's just a system that I put my tap water in, and then it naturally filters the water through clay, and I put charcoal sticks inside it, and we haven't got sick from that. So I purchased a Terra water system, and some people, if you own a house here, some people put in water systems, filtered water throughout the house, and then you'll shower on your tap water, but obviously that's a more expensive cost. So, and then really it's just maintenance on your house. In Bali, when you're renting a home, this is a big thing because people are surprised when I tell them this. You don't normally rent your home monthly. So even though I'm giving you a monthly cost, you normally pay for 1 year up front. So as an expat, you'll go to a home and say it'll be $25,000 US for the year. You need to pay that up front. It's very rare to find a home as an expat that you would pay monthly. So when you've paid that year up front, then of course maintenance normally, unless it's really big, falls to you. But all of that, whether it's plumbing or electricity, it's all very cheap. Internet, that is the other thing of course I pay for, is internet, super important. I pay about $70 US per month for my internet, and I get an unlimited amount of internet. But you can get way cheaper, and then of course if you've got internet on your phone, maybe you don't want internet in your house. So those are really the costs of living in a home in Bali. They're comparatively cheap compared to a Western country. But yeah, housing has definitely gone up a lot more. Now, one of our larger costs is still renting a car. Now this costs us about 4.5 mil per month, and that's about $273 US currently. So it is still one of the larger costs that we have to pay each month. But of course, if you're a family here, you can rent a scooter. There are other options. But I guess rainy season, and if you've got more than one child, not having a car is probably something that's a bit more challenging. If you're living here, if you've just come to visit, that's fine. And then of course the costs that come with that, like petrol is still really cheap. It cost me about $20 US to fill up the car. And that probably lasts me, I'm driving a long way each day, so I actually live in Tabanan, so that's about a 40-minute drive to green school. So I'm driving to school to drop the children off, and then I go home, and then I come back to pick them up, and I go back home. And so that $20 lasts me about a week. So I really get 7 days out of it, unless we're driving a long way in the weekend. So petrol's cheap, and then maintenance on the car. I know in other countries your car rental would include everything like that, but depending on the agency here, it doesn't really, and then it doesn't really include insurance, because I tried to get a car rental place that had insurance, and most people just said no, insurance isn't something we do. And I guess where that comes from is it's quite cheap to get anything fixed here. The thing I do go through quite a lot, and maybe it's my driving, but it also could be Bali roads, is tyres. I go through a lot of tyres. And depending on what car you're driving, I guess the tyres are reasonably, not too expensive. Not if you were in a Western country, these would be a lot more. So yeah, I spend about $35 if I had to get a whole new tyre. But if you get a puncture, phenomenally, it costs about $3.50 to get your puncture fixed, US dollars. So super cheap to get the puncture fixed. It's just if you had to get a new tyre, it's a bit more expensive. And then really if it breaks down, some car rental places will fix that for you and others won't. This will be your responsibility. And then of course, the cost of you renting a car can go up, because actually there was a stage where I was like, oh, let's get a really nice car. And that was going to be about 11 mil IDR per month. that was a lot, and I really didn't need that really nice car. So your costs can range for renting a car. The cheapest car I've ever had was about $170 US, but it wasn't great. It had a lot of black mold in it, and it always broke down. But then the car I have now at the $273 US, it's really good, and I've had no issues, and it's a nice car. So yeah, a larger cost for renting a car. Now, of course, eating out in Bali, I mean, one of the best things to do in Bali is to eat out and be able to afford to eat out. I mean, today we're at a local warung, so depending on where you go, I mean, Bali is amazing for food. I mean, you can get anything. That is one thing that I think, you can get any food you want, and the most amazing food. And of course, you can go to a local warung, or you can go to maybe a more higher class restaurant or cafe and get beautiful food, and that price varies, right? So today I've got a nasi goreng, which is rice in Indonesian, and I love the nasi goreng in Indonesia, and this has cost me $3.60 US, and this is at a local warung. But of course, if I'm going to maybe a really nice cafe or a restaurant, I mean, you're going to estimate probably about $7 or $8 US, and you'll get a beautiful meal. And yeah, I mean, eating in Bali is all about the food. You need to come and try as much food as you can and eat as much as you want, because eating out as a family here is definitely doable. You're not spending, say, $150. You're spending, say, for $30 US, I can easily feed my family and we'll get beautiful food. But of course, if I'm going to a local warung, then I'm even spending, you know, a lot less of that. Maybe I'm spending 10 to 15 US dollars potentially for all of us to eat, because you can eat even cheaper than what I'm eating today at a warung. So food is the most important part of Bali, and being here as an expat. Okay guys, so we've got to think about Grab and Gojek. Grab and Gojek, think of it like Uber, except it's even better. So if you want a package picked up and delivered to you, you can get that done. If you want food delivered, you can get food delivered. And today we are going on the scooter because I love to scooter if I can around Bali. It's definitely my choice, and it's incredibly cheap. So today my ride might be like $1.20 US. And you can also get a car, so depending on where you're going and what you want to do, you can get a Grab car or a Grab scooter. But today we're going on a Grab scooter. Now you have to make sure you wear a helmet, because I know you don't have to, because so many people don't, but it's so important. And this lovely man, Hati, yeah, we're going to be careful here. Okay. And we kill ourselves by getting it. Okay, so we're ready to go with our Grab driver. See you there. food shopping, getting your groceries. There's a number of different supermarkets in Bali. So we're at Pedo today, we've got Festive, we've got Kokomart, we've got Papaya, we've got Grand Lucky, lots of different options. And of course things are relatively cheap, but it depends on what you're buying, right? So if you're buying butter or you're buying cheese, then those things are expensive. So maybe around $7 I spend on my butter. And then cheese, really about the same, maybe a little bit more depending on what I'm getting. But then other things are really cheap, you know, you're not spending too much. So it really does depend on what you are buying. I mean, you know, one thing I find here that's super cheap is chicken. Chicken is so cheap here. And stuff like that. But then beef can be really expensive depending on what type of beef you're buying. So yeah, it's all thing. I mean, fruit's always cheap, but there's so many fruit markets that I don't think you need to get your fruit at the supermarket. Sometimes I do because I'm in a rush and I don't want to stop on the side of the road. But if you're fine to stop on the side of the road, you'll get amazing quality and it will be even cheaper than at the supermarket. I'm actually trying to think of what I need. I'm like, oh, what am I getting? Oh, that's right. Tonight for dinner is bolognese. So definitely things like pasta sauces and stuff can be more expensive. You know, around $4 $5 depending on what type of brand you buy. But yeah, other than that, I honestly think cheese and butter and sometimes the milk. I mean, I buy Australian milk, so it's a little bit more expensive. But yeah, depending on what you buy, it's not too bad. Also, we have a lot of great organic shops. So I go to Live Whole Foods or Bali Buddha or Bali Direct, and you can get like organic chicken from them or beef that's been, yeah, it's more an organic small supermarket. I say supermarket because it's not really a supermarket, it's more a small shop. But if you go to places like that, then you're paying heaps more, of course. But then at least you know, I guess, where you're getting it from, and it's organic and it's, yeah, it's better. But at those places, I'm probably paying the same as what I did in, say, New Zealand. So, yeah. Okay, we've got everything I need, so let's go home. We're gonna go home, get ready for dinner, and then we've got football, so let's go. Ooh. Now, if you've got kids here in Bali and they're at school, they're probably gonna be doing after school activities. So mine are involved in, Keaton of course is involved in football, and then Indy's involved in volleyball and skateboarding, and Mila does dancing, and of course Mila's her big sprinter. Now, I don't think the costs are too much different actually from when I lived in Australia or New Zealand. Mila's dancing costs about $190 per term, and that's normally about 10 weeks. And she does 2 types of dancing. And then Indy's volleyball is about $50 per term, but that is run through the Green School. So that's run a little bit differently. So those costs aren't massively different from what I was paying in New Zealand or Australia. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. It's so good to be able to show you how the costs have changed since 2021. Of course, now we're in 2025 and things are a lot different from what they used to be. So hopefully, if you are making a move to Bali with a family, that'll give you a good idea of what the costs are like and make it a little bit easier for you on your move, because these things are always hard when you have no idea what the final costs will be. So hopefully that's helped. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.